So, like many, people are giving their reactions to the first and perhaps only debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris that happened last night. And I'm hearing people have a lot of different takes, but I don't hear them talking about something that stuck out to me for a while now that I was reminded of by Kamala Harris last night. Let's watch this clip from the debate.
These dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace.
This is what Republican hawks, neoconservatives, have traditionally done to Democrats, particularly Barack Obama in 2008.
But as I said during the campaign, we can't just talk to our friends. As hard as it is, we also have to talk to our enemies.
They would say, if you try to work with terrorists or cozy up to dictators, as she puts it, if you talk to people, if you're diplomatic, that somehow you're on the side of the enemy and you are elevating and helping the enemy. That's what virtually every Republican said about Barack Obama in 2008 when he ran for president on an anti-war platform. Frankly, that's what they said, the Republicans said to their fellow Republican running, Ron Paul, in 2008 and 2012, when he says he will choose diplomacy and talking to our enemies. And they would say, oh, you're cozying up to dictators.
Now, just think about the Cold War. The Soviets had 30,000 of them, and we talked to them.
That wasn't the only time she's done this. Let's look at the Democratic Convention from earlier this year. Check this out if you don't remember.
I will not cozy up to tyrants and dictators like Kim Jong-un who are rooting for Trump.
So that's a shame if she won't talk to Kim Jong-un, North Korea's dictator, or any other dictator or enemy of the United States, because that's how you avoid war. Did Trump meet with Kim Jong-un, the North Korean dictator? He absolutely did, and I applauded him for it. Strong leaders talk and meet with their enemies. One more from the debate, because she's done this a couple times. This is a classic neocon tactic.
This president negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban.
Thank God.
The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans.
Oh my God.
Where we
All right, that's enough of that. So she's done it multiple times. She did it during the debate. The idea that an American president shouldn't talk to our enemies. Well, let's run through a little bit of brief history here. It was Dwight Eisenhower who talked directly and had relations, so you could even say somewhat friendly relations, with Russian President Nikita Khrushchev at one of the high points of the Cold War, and that was a good thing. Ronald Reagan, one of the greatest presidents of my lifetime, his primary legacy was reaching out to Mikhail Gorbachev, the president of Russia. Why? For nuclear de-escalation. The hawks in his party, the neoconservatives in the 80s, hated Ronald Reagan for doing that. They said things like what you heard from Kamala Harris.
I will not cozy up to tyrants and dictators.
That he was cozying up to dictators and, being on their side, or however you want to put it. That's what neocons do. They always do this. They did it to Barack Obama in 2008. They did it to Ron Paul for sure. The idea that you wouldn't go to war means the alternative is that you have diplomacy. None of these dictators, she's right, they are dictators, they're terrible, but strong American leaders talk to our enemies. It's one of Trump's best assets, and he said in that exchange, I will talk to Putin, I will talk to Hamas, I will talk to whoever I need to talk to get deals done, the Taliban, because that's what you do. Well, Kamala Harris is using the biggest neocon tactic in leading America probably to continued war and more war. That's what neocons do. And with Dick Cheney's endorsement, you don't get much more Democrat than that. Neocon Republicans have done this to people who want to avoid war for decades, and now it's the neocon Democratic Party. You don't get any more warmonger than that in 2024 that's leading the way on this classic neocon tactic. So good job, Kamala Harris.
I will not cozy up to tyrants and dictators.
As hard as it is, we also have to talk to our enemies.